insurance companies, banks, and the Federal Reserve. These institutions buy treasury bonds because they're considered safe assets, but those bonds pay interest, about $1 trillion per year now. That interest comes from taxes, so taxpayers send money to the government. The government sends it to bondholders. The bondholders are mostly institutions owned by the wealthy. It's a transfer from workers to capital, every year, forever. The other $18 trillion is owed to the government itself. Social Security Trust Fund, Medicare Trust Fund. The government borrowed from these programs and spent the money. Now it owes itself, but ultimately, taxpayers owe. Because when Social Security needs to redeem those bonds, the government has to raise taxes or borrow more to pay. It's a shell game, but the interest flows regardless. Now scale it globally. Japan owes $9 trillion, mostly to Japanese institutions and the Bank of Japan. Europe owes $14 trillion, mostly to European banks and the ECB. China owes significant domestic debt held by state banks. Every country is running the same system, and they're all interconnected. Japan holds U.S. treasuries. The U.S. holds European bonds through the IMF. Europe holds developing nation debt through the World Bank. It's circular. Everyone owes everyone. And the interest flows upward to the institutions that manage the debt. Here's why this can never end. If the U.S. paid off its $38 trillion, the money supply would collapse. Because dollars are created when the government borrows, if it paid off the debt, those dollars would disappear. Deflation, depression, economic collapse. So the government can never pay it off. It has to keep borrowing, keep rolling it over, and keep paying interest. The same is true globally. If every government paid off its debt, the global money supply would shrink by 2/3. There wouldn't be enough money to conduct trade. The system would seize. So debt can't be eliminated. It's structural, necessary, by design. And here's who profits. The institutions that hold the debt. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity. These asset managers control tens of trillions. They buy government bonds with other people's money, pension funds, retirement accounts, insurance premiums, and they collect the interest, about $1 trillion per year from U.S. debt alone, plus interest from Japan, Europe, everywhere. That trillion per year in interest payments flows from taxpayers to bondholders. It's the largest wealth transfer in history, continuous, structural, and invisible to most people, because it's not called a tax, it's called debt service, but it's the same mechanism. Workers pay, institutions collect, and the debt never decreases. Now, here's the final piece. The four architects didn't conspire together. They lived in different centuries, but they each solved a problem in a way that benefited bankers, and each solution built on the previous one. Patterson made debt permanent in 1694, Rothschild made it global in 1815, Morgan made it infinite in 1913, Volcker made it inescapable in 1982. Together, they built a system where governments borrow forever and pay interest eternally, and the people who control the bonds, who manage the debt, who collect the interest, they're the ultimate beneficiaries. Not governments, not taxpayers, the financial institutions. And here's the final truth. $38 trillion isn't a crisis for them. It's a business model. Every dollar of debt is an asset on someone's balance sheet. It pays interest. It provides collateral for more borrowing. And as long as confidence holds, as long as people believe the government will pay interest even if it never repays principal, the system functions. The debt trap is complete. An escape isn't possible, not without collapsing the entire financial system. 4 architects, 3 centuries, 1 system. And everyone on Earth is now caught inside it. If this changed how you see government debt, if you finally understand that $38 trillion is not an accident or a mistake, but a system working exactly as designed, then you're starting to see how power actually works. Subscribe if you want to understand how the machine was built and who's operating it, because they're not going to teach you this in school. They're going to teach you that debt is a problem to solve. But the architects knew better. Debt isn't a problem, it's the foundation. And interest is the rent we pay to live in their system.